Hello, you are very welcome to the Overlap Rugby podcast. I am Daragh, this is Shane. This
Hello.
is number 69.
Yeah.
Well on our way. This podcast is obviously, we missed a little bit, but we're going to be reviewing a lot of the pool games that we missed and previewing sort of the final weekend of the pool stages. Apologies for being away for so long. We are both incredibly busy, but we're hoping to bang this one out, and then we will be back next week with the World Cup quarter-final preview. We'll also be hoping to, at some point, for some games, get a live stream going.
Yes.
We had intended to do a live stream this Saturday morning for the England-France game. But we have today woken up to the news that that game and the Italy All Black game is called off.
Yeah, which is the big news, I guess. Is what we're gonna start with.
It is indeed. I mean, without any more ado, I went to sleep last night having rewatched Wales Fiji from yesterday. It was one of the games of the tournament, in my opinion. It was a really intense, great Test match, and I went to bed feeling in a pretty good place, and then I woke up this morning to that news, and it really sucks. It's like, I don't want to be insensitive, because obviously this is a very, very strong hurricane, or typhoon as they put it, a category 5 equivalent that is set to hit Tokyo and Yokohama flush, which is dangerous and scary. I mean, there was someone who died in Japan a month ago from a much weaker typhoon, so every precaution being taken, yada yada yada. But all that talk from World Rugby, about being super prepared for the World Cup, draws made 2 years in advance, and then the chat earlier in the tournament about we have a robust contingency in place, which
they do. To be fair,
it turns out
just cancel the games.
Yeah, well, it turns out that the contingency amounts to sacrificing an Italian rugby team to the rain gods in the hopes that it will appease them enough that they can play the Japan-Scotland game tomorrow. But to be
fair, there's some good players in there. It's a decent sacrifice. Bram Stain, they should be accepting that.
Giraldini and Parise not going to get the send off. Their last sign. Conor O'Shea probably his last time as head coach. And not to mention the fact that they were in with a mathematical chance of the quarterfinals. I mean, they have made marked improvements. They have some very good players. Put the two tier 2 sides to bed. Game got away for them against South Africa, and they had that horrific double spear.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
But they were in it, and they wanted to give it a go, and to have them robbed of them is nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. However unlikely you think, and it is unlikely that Italy would manage to do anything to upset the All Blacks, but that's beside the point. It's like I've seen some like online reaction joking that it's like, oh well, like Italy getting a draw against the All Blacks, that must be Conor O'Shea's greatest result ever, and all this. And it's like, yeah, that's a bit of a laugh, but also they were in with a mathematical chance of getting a quarter final, and to deprive them of that opportunity, as well as much as like the ceremony of a send off for the likes of Parise and Conor O'Shea, it is pretty wrong.
It's confusing that there isn't anything in place. I mean, it was flagged, the 0-0 thing in terms of games are going to be called off and be declared
flagged pre-tournament.
It was flagged pre-tournament. People were looking at the rules going, look at this, and there's typhoons. And World Rugby quieting down that talk with the robust contingency talk. There is no contingency, as it turns out. I mean, they've made a statement on the Japan-Scotland game saying they'll assess. I mean, the hurricane will be gone through at that point, and they'll assess whether or not the conditions are playable then in Yokohama. But I mean, if the hurricane is devastating, if the stadium gets damaged, if the Japanese local authorities decide that it's too dangerous to go ahead, or they can't look after it, whatever, then there's not going to be anything World Rugby can do about it. So it just makes it crazy when you have a place like Sapporo in the North Island that isn't being used, that has a dome.
Or was it Oita that stadium's covered as well?
This country has the most advanced rail infrastructure in the world. It's got loads and loads of sporting facilities. I mean, the bottom line is that before you recklessly cast a team out from the tournament by way of this, you should, like, the contingency should be, we delay the tournament by a week, we play the games in different venue, we play the game behind closed doors with no cameras, but a referee. All of these should be approached as ideas before eliminating a team based on a weather storm.
No fans more than no cameras would be the issue there. But
because that's what they're talking about. If you can't do it, you can't do it. If you can't get cameras, if you can't do anything, if you can just play the game behind closed doors, the bottom line is that this should have been the last resort. And it seems to have been the first resort, and it seems to still be for the massive game between Japan and Scotland, which would plummet it from ridiculous to farce. But even
it would be very destructive. It would cast a fully negative kind of broad picture colouring of the pool stages as well, because like even things about like the humidity and the handling errors that have come in, all of that will be heightened if 3 of the pool games have to be cancelled on account of weather then as well.
If the Japan-Scotland game goes ahead, they might get away with this.
Yes.
In terms of colouring the whole tournament.
Sure.
But even so, it's not right to do that to Italy.
Well,
and listen, there's a reality that the Typhoon is difficult. Nobody is saying that, you know, we should go ahead and play these games in this Typhoon. Like it seems to me that Tokyo is fairly off limits, at least on the Saturday. And you know, there was footage going of that game in Rugby Europe from a couple of years ago. Do you remember Georgia Spain when like the wind was just so farcical? I mean, Spain had a kick from their own in goal that went dead the far side.
Yes,
do you remember that? And they just couldn't. When they were pinned back by the wind, they couldn't get out of their own half, and Georgia had them pinned back. And
yes,
it was
funny old picture. It does happen from time to time, but like the Typhoon is a different.
Yeah, well, that's the point. Is that the wind in that game was 45 miles per hour, and they're predicting, I think, 170 mile per hour winds in the Typhoon. Yeah. So there's no question that the games are not going to be playable. But the point is that Japan is a relatively big country. You can move games, you can reschedule games, you can push the tournament back a week. All of, like, in terms of fairness for the competition, all of these should be considered before eliminating a team through the tournament. And as Sergio Parisse himself declared, you know, if it were England or New Zealand or the like in this position, all of those would be approached before. But the reality is that they looked at this and said, you know, Italy are not going to beat New Zealand anyway, so let's just oust them. Yeah. I mean, they've been hanging around since the South Africa game, waiting to play this game, still in the tournament, and
still
now
training,
just fly home.
Flying out new replacement props because of the spear tackle incidents and stuff.
I know,
so
but it's...
Yeah, no, it is, you're right. And then the other side you touched on there, England and New Zealand, obviously not as slighted as Italy at all by this, but the fact that they're missing a game now does affect their preparations for a quarter-final as well. Whether positively or negatively, we don't know. We won't know.
Yeah, I'm more willing to get over that.
I am too, but it does cast a little bit more controversy over things in the build-up to it. It'll definitely be talked about when quarter-final time comes around. They'll either be more rested or more rusty, and you know, all that kind of stuff. But
my frustration is just that, first of all, like World Rugby my key frustration is that World Rugby seemingly lied about the contingency and had no plan beyond hoping that a hurricane doesn't hit. They didn't really have a plan at all in terms of dealing with it. And there are things you can do in terms of rescheduling games, but they just didn't want to go there. And then obviously the other concern is that, you know, if it's of course a team like Italy who get the shitty treatment, where other teams would not be given such a shitty
that's a constant and very annoying thing. That's not unique to Japan or the World Cup or anything. It's just the treatment of tier 2 sides versus the treatment of tier 1 sides.
Yeah, Italy are technically a tier 1 side, but no, they don't have the special place in World Rugby's hearts that the likes of the All Blacks don't. And it's such a cavalier way to cast them aside. Yeah. Before their last game is played, it's a joke. Yeah. Whereas the other 3 teams at least will play again in the quarterfinals. Yes. England, France, and the All Blacks. So it's not as big a slight. Yeah. But it's definitely very annoying that they didn't have a contingency, and it's on World Rugby's shoulders as opposed to Japan's or anything like that in terms of as hosts. It's just the fact that World Rugby having a World Cup here in Typhoon season, first of all, not the best of ideas. You could have moved it. Yeah. And second of all, clearly having plans for if a typhoon affects the games beyond we'll just call the games 0-all and fuck the consequences. It's insane. It's insane. They should have moved moving the tournament back a week should have become an option first. So that's painfully frustrating. The other thing that I had heard, there's rumours swelling that they had planned to call the Japan-Scotland game off this morning. Yeah. But Scotland, this is just a rumour, so I don't know if it's true, but the Scotland apparently heard that and challenged it with World Rugby, which is why they didn't announce it. Yeah. Certainly if that game gets called off, Scotland just shouldn't leave. Yeah. They should show up at every game protesting, holding picket signs all the way to the final. Yeah. The whole team. They should absolutely do that. Well,
that's the absolute fear that we had. Obviously that hasn't quite been realised, although Italy will feel that sense of aggrievement. But yeah, in the context of that Scotland-Japan game, that's knockout rugby that you're cancelling, really. Yeah.
It's not just cancelling. You're just saying you're just giving Japan the pass. The path.
Yeah. Which would, as much as they'd be happy to be in the first quarterfinal ever, they wouldn't it marred.
No, you want to get there by qualifying.
Exactly.
You want to beat Scotland and then be there. It's gonna disintegrate the hype so much, and it's also just gonna eke away at the goodwill that Japan have
built with this tournament so far.
Overall
that's true. But overall, the tournament has been looked very well. A lot of the stadiums have looked great. We've had some great games. Yes, handling and conditionings have been tough at times, but this is the worst kind of possible outcome, and it was pretty horrendous news to wake up to. 2 games cancelled, just summarily 0-all.
Italy dumped from the tournament because of a typhoon. Unprecedented.
Very much unprecedented. It's the first time it's ever happened. I suppose it was a matter of time, and I know it was a kind of an odd stat that in this many World Cups we haven't had a cancellation of a game for conditions reasons.
But they cancellation versus rescheduling is the thing, and that's what should have been put in place. It's depressing. The whole tournament as a whole has been struggling to take off. It's had its great moments. There have been some great games. Every game that Fiji has played in has been great, for different reasons.
Yes.
Japan have been great. Their game against Samoa, their game against Ireland, obviously. But there have been I just speaking from a place of knowing a bunch of guys who are watching it as casuals who don't really follow the sport, and their frustrations with the amount of hammerings and everything else. It's been disappointing the degree to which the USA and Georgia haven't...
Canada.
Well, they were always going to be down there, but I mean, the US, in particular, the tier 2 sides you had hopes for beyond Fiji, Japan, the likes of Georgia, the likes of the USA, even, so Tonga did have that great performance against France, which was so welcome in the tournament, but there have been, the gulf being there and the inability of those sides to get any real threats off has been... a little disappointing.
Definitely.
It's just an ongoing frustration with that pool stage and a hard one to get right. But there's certainly, this time 4 years ago, there was a lot of talk about this being unequivocally the best World Cup ever. Remember with all that attacking footy and out in England, and that talk certainly hasn't been there in this World Cup. So it's
not as much.
It's in danger of being marred, but I mean, it will ultimately be coloured by...
That's where I think that factor that I was talking about with the handling errors, that will be brushed under the rug if the quarterfinals spark into life and maybe the temperature drops a little bit, but we just see more intense rugby. And to be fair, we've seen signs of that already. There have been test matches. We saw it yesterday with Wales Fiji, where it was just a proper contest, and then the quality goes up. But in those hammerings, you're watching the All Blacks put 63 points on Canada and thinking it really should have been 80, but the All Blacks were butchering tries by the end. So I'm watching a totally dominant team actually get a bit sloppy in the conditions, and that's been a kind of more of a recurring theme. But when the intensity's ramped up and when we've had proper contests, we have seen that quality. France Argentina was a great game. Fiji Wales, obviously, from the other day, we've had glimpses of it. And I feel like the knockout stages will deliver more of that, and hopefully kind of restore or embellish the reputation.
Provided the Scotland Japan game goes
exactly
ahead.
That's what
I don't think organisers understand just how much the game would be put into disrepute if that game isn't allowed to go ahead. And it's barring nothing in terms of move the tournament, move the dates, do anything to get that game played. It makes a joke of the tournament if you can't play that game.
Well, that's kind of, I think that was the setup with the rules, is that in pool stages they don't reschedule, but in knockouts they do.
But this is a fucking knockout game.
I know de facto one. But yes,
but that's the point. It was flagged pre-tournament, and the reality is now that they've made this decision where they're not going to move that game, they're going to wait and see how Yokohama's looking after the hurricane hits, that it's entirely out of their hands and in the hands of the Japanese local authority
and the gods
and if the Japanese local authority say we can't go ahead with it, World Rugby will say, well, the rules of the tournament state that if a game is declared unfit to play on the day of the match, it's declared a 0-0 draw, our hands are tied by Scotland. And Scotland, I get the suspicion from their talk, will not be accepting of that.
Please,
I don't think they'll accept it. Hopefully the Scots won't do as they do and roll over, just make a load of noise and then go home. Hopefully they'll stay out there and make it really, really awkward and keep protesting every game and just make a farce of it because they've been done in. I'm surprised the Italians have been
start hearing Flower of Scotland at every Japan game.
I hope that the Irish fans would sing along with them, but hopefully it doesn't come to that. That aspect of it has been disappointing,
definitely. But I suppose we will park that. That was just the big news. As we're shooting this, it's Thursday morning, so that news obviously broke this morning. So we had to feature it. Has to colour the podcast because
it's
ruined
well.
a few of our preview segments as well. I was looking forward to getting into
looking forward to England France.
Yeah.
We were going to do a live stream during that game. It suited us schedule wise, would you believe, to do a live stream for that game.
Yeah.
Never doing nothing.
We weren't gonna. We could have rescheduled, you know. So anyway, we'll park that. We're going to move on to what was initially our round 3 review. We were a bit delayed getting this podcast out, so it's now going to be round 3 plus bits of round 4, but a kind of a de facto just group stage
review. Well, with all the games that we've missed.
Yeah, and we will be previewing the ones to come up this weekend, so that we'll have those segments as well. But this is going to be pretty much our pool segment review for the tournament, because next week we'll obviously be turning a mind forward to knockout rugby and hopefully casting all of this Typhoon nonsense into history.
I would love it. Love it. And listen, it's all been said.
Yes.
I guess we'll just look back through the games from the ones that we missed, which does go back a while. Starting obviously with France USA was Wednesday of last week
in Fukuoka.
Which
mercifully, hopefully, won't be affected by any of this because our game's coming up.
No,
but France 33, USA 9. It's kind of a bit. It's very French of them, but it's not quite reflective of how the game went. It was 12-9 at like
15 minutes to go.
Yeah, 60 odd minutes, 65 minutes or so. And then, yes, as happens with the tier 2 sides, a lot of them aren't really 80-minute sides,
especially
at test level.
The US just can't get anything off for all their dominance ever.
Yeah, they're physically there for the fight, but their offense is a bit blunt, and it was very blunt in this game. They actually looked a bit better in the subsequent game, but
yeah, it's hard to see that improving without games against tier 1 sides. I mean,
true.
You have to learn what works and what doesn't work at this level. You can't unless you're playing these sides.
Yeah,
and that was it's a lesson for the US, and hopefully they'll get a few more games against tier 1 sides this side of 4 years time. But that was
I would like a bit more, like, just as well. You're right on that point, but from the US's point of view, I think philosophically they need a bit more width than what they're putting on the ball now. And that's just in down to ambition as well, like whether it works or otherwise. 9 points against France is never going to win the game.
Yeah,
no matter who you are. So there needs to be a bit more endeavour about their game, because, like you say, like of all the tier 2 sides, physically they stand up. They'll win as many collisions as they lose against the likes of a France, and that's what makes these games tight. Because France got disjointed, as they are wont to do. They were revealing some of the signs of how it probably will come unstuck for them down the line.
Yes,
but in the end, they had too much class really to see it out, and then ultimately fitness as well. They actually kind of blew them away in that last quarter, not even a quarter, it was less than a quarter, that they just blitzed them and put a gloss on the scoreline.
No question. The All Blacks put 63 points on cannon fodder.
Yes. Canada. Canada, as in 0 for Canada. They are. I'm confident in saying they're the worst team in the tournament, but they have a game against Namibia to decide that. But even if Namibia lose to that game, I wouldn't be confident calling them that. This game thus far is the biggest winning margin, which we had a little bet going in our family forecast, kind of like, which has actually added intrigue to some of these hammering, because it's like which ones are going to be the largest winning margin, and we had 63-0. We obviously had a few other games, South Africa as well. And that thus far is the biggest winning margin of the tournament, 63.
Yeah, and they left some points behind as well in sweaty conditions in Oita. Canada not on the All Blacks level. All Blacks having fun out there. Three Barrett brothers starting and getting on the board.
But so in terms of the humidity factor, it was a good point made by, I think, Shane Williams about that game, that we even saw Bowden Barrett clean through, running towards the line, dropping the ball. Which is like, when do you ever see that? It must be a factor. Like, so 63 points could really have been 100. Canada not at the races at all.
We then had Georgia against Fiji, which was a game in our last podcast that we had bigged up as an ultimate clash of styles. It was
and it is.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting. Obviously, we had said that it wouldn't be close, but to see Georgia, it was close in parts up for the first 50 minutes or so.
It was,
and Georgia were just getting a little too. They were embracing the chaos a little too much, and they actually had some good chaotic plays.
Yeah, Mariafeli looked game for it, but it's like it's rare that he's as on the ball as he was in that game for Georgia. Like he was their main man, which really was symptomatic of them playing more of a Fijian brand than a Georgian brand. And by the end, they just could not cope.
Yeah, indeed. And it got a little loose. And certainly defensively, when Fiji hit their straps and Radradra was just coming from all corners, Fiji looked really, really awesome, like they do when things click for them, and the Georgian defence just had never seen the like, and weren't able to cope. But I think what was crucial was that Fiji didn't allow Georgia to impose themselves.
No, what was that stat? That great stat?
It was the Georgians. I don't have the specific numbers, but I think it was about the first time in 5 years and 49 tests or something equivalent to that, that Georgia have lost a scrum penalty count.
Yeah, it was 3-2.
And that was huge. Fiji and scrum.
And Fiji won all their own put-ins.
Yep,
which is like, that's awesome. Like we were like, they've been building that for the whole year. John McKee, one of his main tenets of his Fijian game and what he's influenced on that team is that their set piece looks a bit better. I was concerned in the PNC they got bullied a bit by Samoa in that area, which led me to believe like, okay, they've improved, but how much, and will it still be just not enough? But this was kind of what really vindicated that approach from John McKee, because obviously it probably took a bit of commitment from the Fijian boys and probably took a little faith in him to go there. And it paid dividends. They shut that area down, and then Georgia really had no response other than to try and match them in the chaos. And
which they did for 50 minutes.
They did for 50 minutes, but it's like you're looking at, like, for all that hustle and bustle, they managed 10 points, and like Fiji, if you're playing that kind of style, Fiji are going to do 40 plus.
Fiji just started running rampant then, and then the Georgians really couldn't cope with the pace of it, and they stopped being able to impose their pace on it in the second half, and Fiji
it's also
Radradra was incredible, Botti was incredible, Nice Alevu, Lamani at scrum half had a great game.
It affirmed what we believe, which is that Fiji coming into this tournament were a stronger side than Georgia. Like they both have potential, but Georgia haven't really been finding their flow, whereas Fiji were kind of building nicely into it. But also in terms of that clash of styles point we were making last time, it kind of I think it's illustrative of it, because I firmly believe, as interesting as I find both of their approaches, and I love both of the pictures they paint for rugby, I think the right one is to find tries. I think like the finding tries is what wins games. It's something that Kiwis know very well. It's something that Northern Hemisphere teams get caught out with a lot of the time, and this was a good illustration at a tier 2 level of what finding tries does for a team in a tournament. Like, you can bail yourself out of any situation, but you can also blow teams away and destroy a game very quickly when you click. So for Georgia, it just means that 80 minutes have to be dominant all the time for them to stand a chance, whereas Fiji just need 80 seconds.
Indeed, and I think what I was happy to see in this interesting pool D, one of my favourite pools, obviously between the three tier 2 sides, they each got to paint the kind of picture that they wanted to paint.
Yes.
Uruguay did against Fiji, but their hustling defence and their wingers coming in from the blind side and getting some great scores, and their sort of hustle bustle scrummy play. Fiji got to paint that outstanding picture of blitzkrieging offence and standing up front and then cutting teams to shreds out wide in this game against Georgia, 45-10 in the end. And Georgia in their game against Uruguay got to paint their very controlling, marauding, forward-oriented picture.
Hold the ball in 22 for 20 minutes,
but
and they grab.
I think what's telling though of all of them, and we haven't obviously seen, we will preview Australia against Georgia, but certainly Fiji so far are the one side from that lot who have stepped up and really given problems to the tier 1 sides, and I think that's telling, and I think they are thoroughly deserving
of their third place,
place in the pool, and they've got it.
Very true. What is a little bit of a caveat to attach to that is that all of the defeats, like obviously the tier 2 sides took one off each other in this really fun pool, and it's a great pool that everyone has a win on the board.
First time since 1987 that there's been a pool where everyone has a win. Yeah,
that's awesome. But all those wins came, or all those defeats for the tier 2 sides came on their shortest turnarounds. It was 4-day turnarounds into the games that they subsequently lost.
Something that they're gonna have to change it up a little bit. I'd like, with their broad conversations about the World Cup and what needs to happen, but one of the things that's going to come to a head is these short turnarounds that essentially come from the amateur era. And it's that combination of the 31-man squad and the 4-day turnarounds that really just doesn't feel fair. Right. And I think you're seeing it more this tournament. You've guys coming into games with black eyes. You know, they're literally lining it in the anthems, looking a bit battered. Because they don't have proper time to recover.
Which is and like that's been coming up for years. That's been starting to come up in the junior World Cup, the under 18s one as well, the Junior World Championship, because those turnarounds are super freaky short as well, because the tournament's more condensed, and that is a big problem. And it's the game's just gone such a place where you can't really do that anymore. It's too physical.
It's one of these things that's a hard balancing act, because for the fans, like, they're not going to be too satisfied with games that are you know, having like loads of games, loads of days off in the middle of the tournament. Like there already is a bit of fatigue from this tournament, in fact. But it'll take fans out of it to just have weekend, week off, weekend, week off. It isn't really what most big tournaments like to do. It's supposed to be a spectacle that goes on every day. You could do that by adding 4 more teams into it and having a 24-team tournament. And then, you know, you could stack the weeks full of games, but still space out games between teams. But the problem there is that you're going to have even more cricket scores, which is fatiguing for fans.
Well, I think a good first step would be do away with the 4-day turnarounds.
At the very least. How do you do that?
By just pushing it back one day, even one, like just making it illegal, essentially, if you want to talk in terms of laws, for a team to have a 4-day turnaround before going into another game, because it's not right. Like, and like with all, like it goes in the flies in the face of things like their concussion protocol and stuff like that, which they're really bigging up and they're right to. But it's like at the same time having 4-day turnarounds into games with tier 2 sides, that's even more heightened because they don't have the luxury of a squad that they're confident in rotating a lot. They're here for one World Cup. They're here to do or die. And more often than not, they have their 15 men in their jerseys that are going to go out and try and make a go of it. 4 days is just not enough time to have the body settle down from anything. Like you're saying, it could be a black eye, but it could be a concussion, could be dead leg. All this stuff does happen in these tournaments, and it's just it's a more physical game than the likes of football. So you can't really do 4-day turnarounds.
Yep. Ireland beat Russia 35-0. It made a bit of a hubbub and hurrah in terms of Irish media just for how unconvincing it was.
But I'd say everywhere else it was just not very newsworthy. It's another stock game.
It didn't matter enormously. No injuries.
No injuries. It was one of those, like, the conditions played their part in terms of there were errors. It was sloppy, but at the same time Russia really didn't get anything off as far as threatening at all. And 35-0 was pretty much reflective of the difference between the sides. Ireland could have had a few more tries if they were more accurate, but they weren't. There were, again, the handling errors were recurring. Sexton and Ruddock looking good was a decent sign from Ireland's point of view. Gaziev from Russia needs to be signed.
He does.
But other than that, it was just a game to be parked into the history books.
Indeed. Russia got some spoily plays off, and essentially Ireland didn't cope that well with it, and there are some concerning signs there for Ireland going forward. The next game then was South Africa 49 against Italy 3 on the Friday,
which, and this was, we didn't know, but it was going to be both of their last games of the pool tournament and Italy's last of the tournament.
Well, it was a big chance for Italy. The two loose head spear tackle, Lavotti and Caglio,
and actually fair play to Conor O'Shea for doing the anti-checker and coming out and actually condemning them and saying that the ref probably should have sent both of them off and they had no place in the game, because he's right, because it's awful,
utterly stupid behaviour. The Bucks were struggling a little bit in the first half. Prior to that, they got a little loose. But
their offense, when they're not in flow, their offense can slightly unravel, which will be a concern for them. But they're so physical and defensively so sound that it was never an issue.
They ended up putting enough pressure on Italy just to get given points a little bit. Like Mcanyoan's try was great, and actually that horrific score for who got that try, was it Sneeman? I can't quite remember. When Italy went for a quick line out, or no, tried to keep the ball in play, and it just got picked up and scored. I think it might have been Sneeman who got it.
Might have been. No, God, I know, that was awful. Yeah, but like that's actually no bad thing, because it is South Africa. Rassie has built that Springbok team on defence, so it's good to see pressure yielding.
That was a big part of their 2018 scoring. I said they beat the All Blacks. Good few defensive tries made by and Cheslin also got a bit of meat and looked dangerous, absolutely, as he often does.
But also just like, as far as Italy are concerned, what the hell are they doing? That was a nuts tackle. It was crazy to see that at the World Cup, especially considering like even little dump tackles and stuff above the horizontal has been clamped down on very rigidly since. Like it's been a very constant. Like I don't know what they were thinking. And it was funny. Like there were reactions from all the players. Khaleesi obviously throwing his hands up in the air. But if you looked at Etzebeth's reaction in the moment, he was just kind of grinning at it. And like people on Twitter going like, "Why is he grinning?" It's like he's grinning because he knows exactly what that means. He's just going to be like playing against 14 men.
You idiots.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Like, what are you doing? And it's like they were already flexing their muscles in that game, and that's. Like part of what yielded that was just that Italy were not coping at all, and they were it was actually in a nice attacking moment for them, in the sense that they had a penalty, they were attacking the French sticks, the scorer tried to get back into it,
but I think it was trending towards inevitable defeat, and then that just sped it along.
Yes.
But yeah, that was very unfortunate for Italy. They were supposed to get one more shot at the All Blacks, but we will not mention the war for now.
Yes, indeed.
The following game was Australia against Uruguay. Pretty nondescript. Australia 45-10 to Australia.
Yeah. Uruguay got a good try. They also got another one that Ben Skeen decided
Ben Skeen. Does anybody else hate Ben Skeen and his constant interjecting from nowhere?
From the TMO.
Romain, I have an incident to show you here.
He does wreck my head. What wrecks my head about Ben Skeen, though, is the way he talks. Like, it's something that Keith Wood, it's a point that he made where it's like he really hates the vernacular of the TMOs in the last few years, where it's like they're not actually speaking English. Yeah. Like, Ben Skeen is the one who constantly comes in with this gibberish before the actual decision. So it means he has to get his piece out. He doesn't say, like, knock on, because it was a knock on. He goes like, right, well, both
the ball has been dislodged by Blick.
Yeah.
Blick 11 has dislodged the ball. It is in motion before it hits the ground. There is definite air between the ball and the head.
All of it boils down to he's saying it's a knock-on scrum 5, but he doesn't just say the damn thing. And it's like, compare that with how Barnes is dealing with the TMOs and just saying like, okay, show me the video. Okay, what I'm seeing is this. Anyone disagree? No? Okay, let's go.
Yeah, he's been great. Like, he's been great at taking charge.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Ben Skeen will just interject and talk all kinds of gibberish.
It's worse when he's doing it with a French ref who doesn't quite understand English as well. And then the French ref is just seeming confused and then gives him deference.
Yeah, but that's the point as well. It's like the ref doesn't even speak English, but what Ben Skeen's speaking isn't fully English either. Exactly. So it's like... Yeah, no, he wrecks my head a little bit. But he scrubbed out what I thought was a very nice Uruguay try.
Yeah, interjected to get rid of a Uruguayan try on halftime, which was a damn shame.
Yeah.
But yeah, Argentina kind of stock. Nothing too much to write home about. Kurandrani giving Czech a bit of a headache with a hat trick.
Definitely, which these are good headaches to have.
Freitas. Oh, Jordan Pataia, that's right. He had a great first half.
And on the wing looks very tidy, very physical, very balanced
sharp
runner.
For a 19-year-old playing some smart footy as well.
He had a touch of the Ben Smith head on him where he's like draw and give. Yeah, he looks exciting.
Totally.
Definitely good to get a first glimpse of him.
Freitas for Uruguay had another great game.
He's awesome.
And Michael Hooper is in serious form.
Yeah.
He's looking like one of the best loose forwards out there.
He is, and comparatively Pocock really hasn't
got a playoff.
Hasn't really looked himself at all, but it's good that Hooper's standing up.
It's probably it's a little lesson in not going overboard in terms of rest periods. Like, they kind of took the piss with Pocock. He didn't play a game for a year and then he's straight into a World Cup.
Yeah.
Like, as jacked as he looks, there's just
something about.
There's also just the game moving on. He seems to be Pocock seems to be getting shocked by just the viciousness of the cleanouts these days. It's a little unforgiving.
Yeah.
You really do have to pick your moments. Like, he's going into like virtually every ruck and getting blown out of all of them.
Yeah,
it's like
they're also each team is coming into an Australia game with a Pocock watch mentality, like the kind of thing where they put a grey scrum cap on one of their squad players for the training and just practice blitzing them out of there every time.
Yeah.
There's definitely an element of that to it.
But that's the point about picking your moments.
But there's also the element that it frees the likes of Hooper up when people are fixated on Pocock.
That's true.
It frees him up to play the game. So that I'm not entirely sure on where, because obviously in tier 2 v tier 1s we don't fully get a glimpse of that. It'd be interesting to see how impactful he is again in the quarterfinal game, which will be England now, I think.
Yes, we're almost certainly. Save for Wales Uruguay getting called off and declared 0-0. So that was that game. England then played Argentina, and the ticking time bomb that has been Lavanini went off at an inconvenient time, as I think was destined to happen.
Yes, well, I'm ready. We didn't actually get, that was the one preview that we had shot on the last podcast that we didn't actually get up. We had some major software issues and had to re-download things and couldn't get it out on time. But yeah, we had billed it as in part a battle between Sinclair and Lavanini as the who's going to blow this for their team.
And Sinclair got the edge on him early doors. He gave away a penalty just inside 5 minutes for a no arms tackle that could have been a card. You know, he was getting stuck in there.
He was getting in the game of let's try and ruin our tournament here.
Yeah.
But Lavanini beat him to it. And really he did, because that was shocking. He's
predictable, and he's there walking off the pitch in tears. It's so hard to feel sympathy for him, because it has been a consistent problem with his game for years, and he hasn't done nothing to address it.
He's the most carded man in Argentinian rugby history.
I believe he must be. I think he's the most red cards in Test history.
I think he's like 5 or 6 yellows and 3 reds or something. It's too many, and it's too predictable because it happens. It's not just his test career; he does it for the Jaguares.
Oh, he does.
Well.
He does it every time he plays. He plays loose, ridiculous, undisciplined rugby, and it's all manner of undiscipline. He doesn't roll away. He doesn't enter from the right angle. He doesn't use his arms and tackles. He just hurls his body in any direction, and predictably he's been pulled up by the officials in this tournament. And yeah, a lot of hype about him. It was always a danger to keep selecting him. And I tell you what, for England can feel smug about this game, but having a guy like Kyle Sinclair in your team,
problem.
There could be a ticking time bomb element to him as well.
Yeah, it's if it gets tight. This is what we were saying. Like when it gets tight in those moments, that's when you need someone who doesn't have the red mist descending. And we saw it in the Wales game. Actually, Alan Wynne was so good at throwing Sinclair on tilt, because there was that moment like in the Six Nations where they were in a fracas together, and you just saw Alan Wynne kind of grinning and slapping him, patting him on the head, and then Sinclair kind of going red in the face, wanting to just nothing more than just swing at him, not lay him out right now. That's the instinct. And then the next play is an inevitable Sinclair penalty, and Alan Wynne can feel rightly smug about himself because he managed to throw him on tilt.
Yeah,
and you better believe whomever England are facing in the games to come, that's going to be an avenue for success for them as well. But let that not, like, that didn't happen with Sinclair. We cut in some slack. This was Lavanini's game for the ruining. And but that being said, I still think that the outcome as it was probably the likely one anyway. I don't think Argentina were a match for this England team.
Argentinian rugby Twitter, which is a thing, an animated thing.
Yes,
I believe I mentioned them on the show before when their squad was named.
Yeah,
but there was much chagrin and disgruntlement just about Ledesma's Argentina in general, and I think it's hard to argue that he has gotten, since he's taken charge, he's gotten just about everything wrong.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking in their last game, which obviously we will get onto later, but the fact that Tuchel went so well and their wingers were kind of stuttering leads me to believe, like, picking Tuchel with Buffelli on the pitch could have been an option he'd explored. But the main one I'm thinking is, apart from bringing Lavanini, is bringing Urda Pieta, hauling him out of cast to
not only
Diaz
dropping
Benicia.
Sanchez from the 23, but Diaz Benicia not getting a look in, even though he has quite a crisp attacking game.
Yes, he plays a more Argentinian brand, like Cast, like Urda Pieta. Yes, he's a solid club man for Cast, does kick his goals, plays some top couture's rugby. That's not the way Argentina play the game.
No, indeed.
Certainly not from 10.
Yeah, sticking with Capelli at 9, like they have dismantled what was an excellent attack.
Yeah.
They left obviously Imhoff and Cordero at home, but even the selection of Carreras.
Yeah.
I know Mojano has been out of form, but even Delky would have been a better option. And their offense then stuttered and stopped working. The mystery dropping of Facundo Issa.
Yeah.
They have much better players than ended up going to the tournament, and it has been a calamitous. It's been a calamitous World Cup failure, and they come every so often.
They do. As Irish rugby fans, we feel qualified to recognise and comment on unmitigated failure when we see it in a World Cup. And Argentina have definitely had a very Irish-looking World Cup.
They have,
down to France being the ones undoing them on day one.
Yeah,
it was not good.
No, they deserve to stick with their guns. They need to play skillful, quick,
fast footy.
Yeah. They were certainly, this squad was never going to stand up to England.
Yeah. What was perverse was that they actually managed to get their scrum a bit more assured than it had been all year, but it was just at the cost of everything else.
It seems to be a singular focus of theirs, but then, like, taking Sanchez out of the 23, then it's like, what, like, as we say, what does the 4 years mean?
Yeah.
Like, Sanchez has been their guy for the whole cycle,
and now here we are in the big game,
and it's this guy Urda Pieta who nobody knows, who's playing their last, like, what are we doing here, boys?
Yeah.
They needed to go back to their roots and play a bit of offensive footy. There's been some rumour that they might get the Uruguayan coach to take over, or they might get the lad from the Jaguares. Either way, I think I am a Leinster fan, so maybe I shouldn't say it, but Felipe Contepomi wouldn't be a bad option to draft in
even as a backs coach.
100%.
It's unfortunate because Argentina at World Cups are obviously a great thing normally, and this has been underperforming for them. Even in that pool where it was always the pool of death is what they were billing it as. It was always going to be tough, and the fact that it came on game one, and they did play a good game in game one for the second half. They got kind of blown away, but it's too late.
It's been a bit of a disappointing cup for the Americas in general.
Yeah.
Outside of Uruguay's one win against Fiji.
Actually, Uruguay can probably feel the best of all the teams on that continent.
Nobody's got anything off, and actually time zone wise, it doesn't work out really well at all. All the games are sort of going on overnight.
Mm-hmm.
I follow a few American sport people who would have been primed to comment on it had something been going on, and
really
it hasn't sort of in terms of the sporting ecosphere in America, it hasn't even penetrated a little bit. Apart from Tom Brady's 2 little videos, one supporting the Box and one supporting the Eagles.
Fair enough.
He was 0-2 in his pre-match things. He supported the Box pre-All Blacks match and then the Eagles pre-England match, I think.
Well, that's just silly, Tom.
Yeah.
Stick to what you know. But from England's perspective, it was a good to confidently swat Argentina's side. Bit of a bummer that they were only playing against 14 men, because now the fact that France game is cancelled means they're a little undercooked, really. They're coming into a quarter final. They would have been gearing up and targeting that France game as a chance to get their A team out, get them rolling, blow France away, get a bit of confidence, and then roll into a quarter final from there. So now this really does upset that rhythm, and come two tier 2 tests where they weren't really challenged, and then a game against a 14-man defeated Argentina is not
it's a
really
step up
prep.
When they're playing the Wallabies. It'll be a step up, and it'll be curious to see how they cope. They do have a great defensive line that can be spoily. They have some excellent back row forwards. Hopefully
great quality literature out. Yeah.
Hopefully Billy Vunipola's okay. But a really gnarly top level set piece and defence and breakdown play, coupled with a really crisp offence that's looking very sophisticated and still screen filled as ever. And they're putting their wingers in. They look sharp in terms of finishing scores.
Definitely.
So they'll be quietly quietly.
As quiet as
they'll be loudly confident going into the quarter final about their capacity to go on and stake a real claim at winning this tournament.
Is that they get a bit more rest. Obviously, Billy Vunipola went off injured. He'll now have ample recuperation time, so that's probably not a bad thing. But it is just curious that it's affected in that way. Then the next game was Japan and Samoa. It finished Japan 38, Samoa 19 on Saturday in Toyota Stadium in the city of Toyota. It was closer than that though. Japan left it very late to get that bonus point.
Samoa, who I had flagged as one of the most disappointing outfits in the World Cup, which now really the US I think have taken that mantle a little bit in terms of outright disappointment and from potential. But Samoa did put in a good performance. I thought the 2 Lambs, Hooker and in the back row, played really well. I thought Chris Vui found some form. They were nice in those tight areas. They got some good plays off and caused the Japanese pack some problems.
Also Sayateni, why was he not there from the beginning?
Sayateni's class.
We were saying in the PNC.
Talent.
Get him in there. He can play. He can run that offense. They have quality outside him.
He can kick the ball really well. He was almost better than Tamor in that game. He's like for a young. He's a kid. Like he's I think 19
he's very much in the mould of Tamor as well. He's a similar style player. They should have been backing him from the start.
He's optimism for Samoa. Because it's been 2CPC for the last forever, and you'd be kind of sick of looking at him.
That's not progress. Great credit to him for making another World Cup, but it's like you want a young man at 10 trying things, you know.
Sayateni is all kinds of good, and I was delighted to see him get some plays off. I was delighted to see Samoa looking good. They were tackling ferociously. They looked to have a bit of structure, and they made things very, very difficult for Japan.
They still have slight issues around tackle technique.
They do.
That are rearing their head in every single game at one point or another, and it's like it could happen again against Ireland.
I'm sure it will.
And it could take someone like Johnny Sexton's head clean off, but it'll leave them with 14 men. So they still have to work on that a little bit, but definitely good, positive to see them be competitive and combative. And then also from Japan's perspective, very impressive for them to get what could be a crucial bonus point towards the end.
They scored some lovely plays. Lemeki on the left wing had his best performance of the tournament. Jimeno again was immenso. And he was making crucial play after crucial play.
Leach is also a bit of a veteran and just plays some very, very smart footy all the time.
And Matsushima sneaking over for that last score was fairly crucial. And,
in terms of the tournament top try scorer thing, Matsushima's well in contention.
Ties Montoya at top with 4. That was very crucial. There was some people giving out about the sort of decision to go for the scrum and then the decision to give a crooked feed, saying it was definitely a bizarre finish to the game.
It was, but I was thinking that was just very stupid from Samoa.
Samoa do just love giving teams bonus points, it seems. I mean,
but also
Macon was in the process
of... You get a free kick on your own 5 metre line. Like, I don't care who you are, even Georgia would.
Most teams take scrums. Most teams would. Yeah, the All Blacks definitely would. In terms of last play, we have to get something off rather than tap and go, tie up the packs and get something going at the backs. but the Japanese just blitzed their scrum, and he did sort of throw it in. There's people saying, "Oh, you never see crooked feet," given that was what Gregor Townsend comment was. But actually, if you watch the scrum again, you could have given them a penalty.
Yes,
the Japanese could have got a penalty.
Yeah, I thought it was a penalty. But yes, I thought it was baffling. I thought either tap and go and run, or just hoof in the air and chase, because you're Samoa, like you're at the end of this game, like that. It just made little sense to me.
They were too tired to scrum, and it ended up costing them. But they did they didn't have the fortunes of Scotland or Ireland in their head. They had a potential losing bonus point in their head, and that's entirely reasonable.
Fair enough, yeah.
And they do just love giving teams bonus point tries, because in the Scotland game, Maitland was in the process of butchering a try.
Before sliding knee.
In came the sliding knees of Fido.
And
there comes a penalty
try.
Second
yellow. Again, with that tackling technique. That tackle is illegal in football.
Yes, indeed. It's illegal in anything.
Anything.
Might be illegal in MMA, sliding double knee.
Yeah.
So they ended up giving both Scotland and Japan last minute bonus points. So that's a bit of a wash, and the bitching can slow down. All Blacks put 71 points on Namibia.
Yeah, highest score of the tournament so far, but not highest winning margin, down to Namibia getting 3 whole kicks off, and they were good value for them. I was rooting for them to get a try as well. They actually did test the All Black defence every now and then. They actually put some width on the ball and ran very well, and did challenge the All Blacks from time to time. That's what I enjoyed from Namibia's perspective. The All Blacks showed their class and also kind of experimented a little. It was great.
Had fun out there.
Had fun out there. 3 halfbacks in the 23. TJ's try at the end is one of the tries of the tournament. Absolute worldie of a coast to coaster.
TJ is so good.
But similarly, Geordie at 10 looked very good. May created one great try.
You won't see that again.
You won't see it again. Similarly, you had Rico slotting in a 13 for the end of the game as well. Like it was the All Blacks in squad rotation, but also in confidence. Let's get a bit of flow going kind of form, and. They probably did enough. Like even with the cancellation of their game against Italy, they probably satisfied enough now to roll into the quarters from where they're at. They've been pretty cushy since week one.
Since the beginning of the tournament, they've just got better and better, and that was not much of a test for them.
No.
The next game, Japan. France played Tonga in an absolutely insane game of footy.
It was a great game.
It was a great game.
It is now firmly a World Cup classic of a fixture, isn't it? France-Tonga is it's an intangibly great game for really no logical reasons that you can cite. It shouldn't
those things. I was enormously impressed with the Tongans and delighted they made a game of it. It was getting a bit fatiguing with all those hammerings, and to have it padded between the New Zealand-Namibia game and then the South Africa-Canada game, it was actually important that the Tongans put up something of a fight, and boy did they made it a great game. After being blitzkrieged early doors, they just picked their way back into the game, just being physical, rode their luck at times with some forward passes from the French here and there, but took their tries nicely, put Maynard under some pressure in the backfield, and the French they weren't really as game for it in a sort of predictably French way. They were just a little bit off the boil.
Also Ntamack at 10 just really doesn't offer as much control as your Cameron Lopez. But also Dupont actually sorted things out a lot when he came on as well. Like the quality did show at the end. They were just good value. They did deserve to win the game.
They kicked their way after getting a right fright. They kicked their way to be on the score, but then the balls of the Tongans to go down and get that score, and the absolute non-plays out of the French to shut it down was pretty shocking. Holes in the middle of the fence, and then Penaud getting completely lost over a high ball.
Lovely kick as well. That gorgeous from Tonga. This was a good Tongan performance, and all the Islanders have shown something now in this tournament, which is great.
Whereas early doors they were one of the disappointments, but they have they just do have a capacity to from nothing produce a performance. They all get the game.
At World Cup.
They all get the game. And they do their war dance, and then they're in there. And it was great. Like Tonga, that performance came from nowhere as far as I'm concerned. They have been nowhere all year.
In the PNC they've looked very unimpressive. So this was a very good game, a welcome fixture in the tournament. And probably a bit revealing from France's point of view. I don't think they can go all the way with some of these bad habits that are revealing themselves.
It's hard to see it just clicking from.
And now there's talks of rifts and stuff between Garado and the coaching staff, and there seems to be the usual.
Morad Boujalal was calling for the players to openly revolt against the coaches. I wonder. I don't know. Like it's at a Cape.
Well, I would
it's
take
like
whatever that fella's saying.
And do the opposite.
Yeah.
So I think maybe it's just the case that some players were a little grieved by it. They probably shouldn't take the captaincy away from Garado, but if they want to start Camille Shah, that probably makes all the sense in the world.
Like we saw with Japan, they did that against Ireland. Have Michael Leach on the bench to come in, even though he is the captain. But he's an older man. And Camille Shah has been somewhat undeniable. So I don't mind having Garado come on off the bench, but I think he's good value there as a head in that pack.
But I think it could be a case of much being made of it in terms of people more narrative crafting.
It is
like one little source of information, and let's just run with it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I suspect the French will be primed and ready. I just don't know if they'll be quite good enough against at the real top level against like a really surprisingly very very good Wales team, and probably unsurprisingly, but a very good Wales team.
But I suppose we'll move on then. Another hammering followed that one. We had South Africa 66, Canada 7, which was in contention for the biggest winning margin.
Incredible open 20 minutes from the Springboks, and then everything cooled down after that.
It did, and then again it got a little sloppy and a bit loose in the second half, which is partly down to conditions and partly down to just disjointed stuff through changes. But Canada got their try, which they kind of deserved in the context of the game for sure. They actually did string a few things together and grabbed a try. And South Africa not quite managing to get that biggest winning margin of the tournament. They were 1 point away. They didn't really care about that at all.
But actually, they looked very good. They did.
Snyman was great. Was good to see actually, like Willemse fresh off the plane, dotting down, big hugs, lovely feel good factor coming in from radiating off that squad.
The media is trying at every turn to kill the feel good factor from this box team, and they are not succeeding.
No.
Razzie is just running you can see that the squad in themselves believe in what they're doing and care about each other, and they're really just putting to bed all of the outside media chat.
You just have to look at Schalk Britz's probably last game ever, and how well did that go? Like down to the smiles in the anthems, to the actually playing really well, getting his set piece pretty dead on, to grabbing a worldie of a try.
Actually playing 10 for a few phases, like he loves to do.
He does that. He's an awesome player. And then like bowing to the ball girl as he's going off, and Razzie just chuckling away to himself. Like he's such a great guy that I think he's just
hilarious shirt exchange with the giant Canadian hooker after the game,
trying to squeeze it onto him. All of it was great. Like I couldn't but smile at all the things that the Springboks are doing.
They're very hard. I don't understand how many people dislike them. They're a very hard team to dislike. The Springboks. They could go all the way. They could still go all the way.
They very much could. Snyman was awesome in that game as well. He was marauding through those.
Cobus Reinach was adding to the scrummy headaches.
Yeah, indeed. This is like. They have such good players. Oh my god!
You don't talk depth, like the Springbok rugby takes depth to another level.
Yeah,
it really does.
Definitely. Okay, and moving on from that, then we had Argentina and USA. Argentina's last game. This was just yesterday, Wednesday, at Kumagaya Rugby Stadium, and it was pretty much a predictable Argentinian triumph.
Predictable from the US as well, sticking with it for 20 minutes. And then Argentina with Sanchez back, with a couple of new names and a few fresh faces and offloads. Again,
and crucially no pressure.
No pressure. And that very basic South American shape that seems to just pay dividends. The Aussies do it too, which is the disguised runner from the blind side. Out half takes it to the line, pops it up to a disguised runner coming from the blind side. How can it still be working? I don't know.
It pulls defense. When it's done well, it's very hard to stop.
I know, but it's just the US are all over the place, and like for a team that was in 2018, it's not good for Ireland's perspective to see 2018 form have no bearing at all.
Yes.
Because they were and have been a disappointment.
Definitely. And from a tier 2 side, where you want to try and bridge the gap between tier 1 and tier 2, and that has not been the story of this World Cup.
No, it has not.
And USA have been very illustrative of that point.
We had flagged pre-tournament that was likely to be the case, and so it was. The US.
It's just like we were saying. It's the rate of improvement. Like as much as the tier 2 sides have improved, the tier 1 sides have improved a lot.
That's it. The Major League Rugby is only going to help them.
Yeah,
so former years of that.
You see what Japan are doing. But they have they have had professionalism and their own kind of their own league domestically for years.
Had money that has got a whole load of Kiwi heads into their game, and that's brought thinking. That's brought forward thinking into the game.
Exactly.
And the US, for all of their money, it's great to get Bastros and Nonus. They actually need to splash out on some good heads, some good coaches, just to introduce the concepts of modern rugby in there.
But it will come. But it's only 2 years. It's only
in the sort of only side out of the 90s right now.
Somewhat. Well, that's kind of that happens a lot with tier 2 sides. But I think no, Major League Rugby will improve them but maybe not like 4 years. Maybe they'll be looking for signs of improvement. I'd still think probably
8 to 12 kind of buzz.
8 to 12 kind of buzz.
Yeah.
But that's a reasonable goal. Like, the game's not going anywhere, so you need to get with it and kind of just keep growing. That's what Japan have been doing, and they've been showing, kind of blazing a trail and showing the way, the path for the tier 2 sides to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And the USA are definitely putting some good steps in, but this tournament came too soon for them and they were blown away. From Argentina's point of view, they just signed out with a few nice tries.
Listen, it could have been sticky for them. It was a game for automatic qualification. It was important that they got that one.
Yeah. I think they're always going to. I think it was probably more important for their confidence that they actually got a few plays off and looked a bit more like themselves. Just to.
Well, it all doesn't matter now. I mean, they're not going to play a game until June.
True, but it's like you want your last memory of the World Cup to, mind you, their last memory of the World Cup will be conceding that Blaine Scully try. so
yeah, indeed. Like there's no putting a sort of a whatever you could putting the lipstick on the pig of that. Of that show, of this World Cup showing from Argentina, despite a good win, it really is irrelevant to them.
True. And yes, then moving on to Shizuoka, also yesterday on Wednesday, Scotland racking up a score against Russia.
Yeah,
I was kind of poor Russia kind of thing, 61-0. You saw signs of it against Ireland, where even though Ireland only managed to score 35. Russia really weren't the same dogged kind of disruptive.
They were just trying to be disruptive in terms of just putting the ball in the right places. But you could see in the last half an hour of that game that Russia were discovering some of that pre-tournament not giving a shit once the line is broken.
Yes.
Just the back three, just like, look at him go.
Yeah, and that came to a head in this game. Like the Barkley try in this game. Like, he's just rooted to the spot just watching him trundle by. And he looked like
Barkley moving so slowly.
Barkley looked, as he fell over for the try, he looked gassed. Like, if someone would have closed him down, they would have made the tackle. Like, it was.
Yeah, you can't overstate that it's Shizuoka as well. That can have its effect.
It's a very, very much a heat box. But you were seeing a Russian side that were very much done, and you're seeing a Scotland side, by contrast, that are not done at all, and are bigging up to a big cup final for them that better go ahead. But like, this is them getting their offense going.
Ali Price, you would be sorely tempted to throw George Horne in there, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Had a Laidlaw.
Oh, like, I've always thought that. I really like George Horne, and I like his telepathy with Big Horn.
Yeah.
Little Big Horn.
Yeah.
But he's a really aggressive, really quick player. He's very smart. Try score, runs very good, tracking lines.
Yeah.
Is very much in keeping with the theme of what they're trying to do.
With Finn, like, it'll just work a little better.
Yeah.
Finn likes guys who run off him.
Yeah.
So once the line is broken, he'll be one of the guys running off him.
Yeah.
So.
No, I would say there is a serious argument for that. I don't know if that's what's going on, because I kind of like the Laidlaw off the bench option as a closing out the game as well. It's definitely good headaches to have. It's definitely a solid performance from Scotland. Great to see them get their offensive game going, which is what Gregor Townsend Scotland has been all about. So Darcy Graham lighting it up, the likes of that, very positive for them. And it tees up what is the game of the weekend, which is Japan and Scotland. So it does tee that up rather nicely.
The final game then is Wales against Fiji, which 29-17 was an insanely good game.
It was a brilliant game, brilliant game.
All 4 Fijian showings in this World Cup have actually they've all been great games.
Yeah,
even their Uruguay disappointment
was a great game.
Seeing off Georgia, they're putting it up to Australia for the first half.
Yeah,
and then this absorbing match.
Great contest.
It was so physical. You had guys fought like it was not really ideal prep from a Wales point of view.
Wales will probably one thing that will stand to them, like Adam Wynn's 80-minute showing was great and crucial. Yeah. They managed to get it done. Against a very dangerous Fiji side that looked like taking it from them at times. They definitely looked better than Wales at times with ball in hand. Looking at Semi Radradra literally won every micro battle he was involved in.
He won.
Insane. He was awesome. But crucially, that little level of nous that Wales definitely do have over the Fijians. The Fijians not quite recognising.
You could feel as that game was tight, the understanding from Wales. There's just years of playing tight Six Nations matches and understanding how these games can become defeats and how they can become victories and what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And then, just putting themselves in the right areas and poaching at the very right moments and having just that little bit of understanding that Fiji honestly don't have. And Fiji's like loose box kicking at exactly the wrong time.
Matawalu.
Throwing the wrong pass.
Harry Carey committing that stuff in Japan. It was not good. Yeah. Not the desired impact from the bench. But
Yeah,
I actually think Vola had one of his worst games in intention, and even throughout the 80 minutes when they were in contention, it was a noticeable weakness. Was the fact that Vola was not performing. His passing game was off. He was loosely thrown forward. His
he had a
kicking
couple of
awful.
knock-ons / forward passes in crucial moments that were leading to potential tries. That could have had it go the other way. But Wales, like I just don't think you can say enough. Like Wales they are the breakdown maestros. They have wonderful spoiling breakdown plays.
Yeah,
and there'd be some criticism into the sense that you didn't put away this tier 2 side. But actually, Fiji, when they hit their straps, are one of the most difficult fixtures for any team.
Yeah. In a World Cup, Fiji is not a game you want to be facing really. If that's one of your tier 2 outings, that's no fun. Because you have to roll out the likes of Alan Wynne-Jones and like
they are as skilled as the All Blacks at times, and then they are phenomenally physical, and they really were. It was a battering, bruising game, but they were absolutely dangerous, threatening Wales at every turn, and probably would have made Welsh teams from the past, like the 2007 team, buckle and lose.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
But this Welsh team did a really great job of staying in the game, scoring at crucial moments, and then putting it to bed when they had the opportunity.
And Liam Williams deserving of that try, because he was the most game of all the backline for the fight that was coming. Like Hadley Parks was getting dominated at times.
Jonathan Davis played really well and had an awesome assist for a try, but then did get smashed by Radradra in the process,
and then had to go off. And then we had George North limping, and obviously Dan Bigger, which is like Liam Williams was in full on tough guy mode. Like Liam Williams is a tough dude. He's one of those guys who like will lose a collision, but then he'll be bouncing back on his feet, and the guy who actually smashed him is down there holding his shoulder or something. He's got that weird wiry strength about him, and he was definitely in full on primed mode because he was getting smashed 100% of the time, and him and Radradra were having a good little battle of contacts.
He was given more to him than North was.
Definitely. North was a non-entity on that wing. He was literally dominated the whole time by Radradra. He was just a bigger, better, smarter version of North. But Liam Williams was that primed that he ended up shouldering Dan Bigger in the head, and that could be a second concussion in a amount of weeks. That could be very impactful. I don't know if they
said that first one was a concussion though. He left the pitch, but I think they said he might have.
He was definitely doing the same thing again. He was jogging off the pitch and he was doing his best "I'm not concussed" face.
Straight after lying there unconscious, he gets back up and he's. Anything short of just doing a maths puzzle on the sideline. Look, I'm doing Sudoku.
Yes,
I'm fine.
Let me play. But it could be bad for Wales. Like we don't know the effects of it yet.
Patchell again.
Yeah, Patchell was great.
I like Patchell.
I do too. And he was good for that game as well. The way he runs and takes it to the line was a good way to approach this Fiji game. I thought from Fiji's perspective, Bodia going off was very telling, because that was what allowed Jonathan Davis to get that fend off. Like his Bodia would have been sticking that tackle all day long. Got the fend off, got the hand free, got the game.
Actually, Bodia is a great player, and it goes to show, because I think he's been carrying an injury for the whole tournament, and he's gone off a couple of times, and he's very impressive, but I think that has hurt them.
Just to not have him at full flow, because he has a lovely telepathy with Radradra as well from their time in the centre, but even when they're on the wing they tend to like to feed each other and support each other. So it was great to see Fiji paint that picture. It was just a wonderful test game. It was pure test match intensity. The physicality was there. We had Alan Wynne-Jones getting a bit shocked in the first half, getting dominated once or twice, but then as all great players do, rise into it, sticking with it in the second.
There was a moment in the second half when he got ran over by Naya Salevu, and then the ball spilled and it passed across to him and he knocked it on, and he was looking a little ropey. Like there were plays getting off on both sides.
Yes.
Truly compelling, but well done Wales.
100%. I think that could galvanise this squad. If they are to go on and make a run for this tournament, this will be a very pivotal fixture for them, because
injury dependent, obviously.
Injury dependent. We don't know the lasting effects of it. We saw a lot of Welshmen limping and bruised by the end, but we don't know.
A lot of dead legs and such, and thankfully they'll have a decent turnaround. Presumably not a lot of these guys will play against Uruguay, and they'll have a decent turnaround.
Well, certainly the likes of George North was just hobbling. It just looked like the result of a physical test. Like you've just been banged up a bit, and hopefully with a bit of rest you'll be back, and hopefully with Jonathan Davis that's the same, because that would be tragic if they were to miss out on him for the knockouts. That does affect them. Bigger as well. Yes, but great game. One of my highlights of the tournament so far. As Fiji are just a great, wonderful rugby nation and great value at a World Cup, because they produce games like this.
Yep. Okay, so what we're actually going to do is just wrap up this video here. This is Overlap Rugby Podcast 69 Part 1.
Yeah.
We are going to shoot a Part 2 later this evening and have it up to you tomorrow at some point, hopefully in advance of the Australia-Georgia game, because we'll be touching on that in the next show. but we're actually I have to run at the moment.
Yes,
so
we're tight for time, as we have been all week. We've been pressured to try and get this one out for you. But yeah, we'll be back shooting later on this evening with our preview segment. This was kind of our review show / talking about the news of the cancelled games. So thanks for sticking with us. If you enjoyed, please do like and subscribe and share them, comment down below because we enjoy that. But yeah, be sure to catch ORP 69 Part 2, which will be coming as well
in the near future.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Quick ball throw.
Oh,
nailed it.
Oh, just got it.